Welcome to Service Strong. I'm your host, Liberty Simmons, and today I have a special guest for all of you, U.S. Marine veteran and mental toughness coach at LifeMed Institute, Eric Rittmeyer. Everyone, welcome Eric to Service Strong. We are so honored to have you on Service Strong. Thank you for joining us.
Liberty, so happy to be here.
And so, Eric, so you have a very unique story. I mean, you are also the author of two books, The Emotional Marine. Let's show everyone here, The Emotional Marine and The Menopausal Marine. And we will talk about them in greater depth later on. But first off, let's briefly talk about what you do at LifeMed Institute and also your service story.
Yeah, so my official title at LifeMed Institute is Director of Business Development. So have the best job ever, get to go spread the word of wellness. We are all things about trying to help people live longer, and not just live longer, but live better for longer. So an absolutely amazing job. It kind of morphed into the women's health stuff, which my book, that second book that I wrote, The Menopausal Marine. So my role has kind of shifted from business development to women's health. We love helping guys out as well. It's just all about helping people to feel better. So it's just an infatuation with learning new stuff. I know it's pretty diverse, from mental toughness and emotional intelligence to hormone replacement therapies and ovarian dysfunction. But I like learning about topics. I like trying to find things that have lots of misconceptions tied to them, and then research, educate, and then help people to get facts on information. That's what I love to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look very fit yourself. So healthiness in your mind, body, and spirit, all of it is all connected, and it deserves to be learned about and really worked on. So let's talk about your service story as well, because where did you grow up? Talk to us about your upbringing and what made you join the Marine Corps.
Yeah, I grew up in Baltimore, and from a very young age, initially I wanted to be in law enforcement. That was kind of my thing, my dream. I think pretty much every boy's dream is to grow up to be in law enforcement or the military. But for me, I again was not a fan of college or not a fan of school. Joined the Marine Corps and shipped out for 4 years. I left and went away for 4 years. The best time of my life. I got to travel the world. I got to meet some amazing people. And it's just everything about the military that just instills these things in people. And I think as a veteran, and again, regardless of the branch that you're in, you know what you're getting with a veteran, right? You're getting commitment, integrity, accountability, loyalty, this service before self mentality that just carries with every single veteran that you meet. I'm one of those weirdos that feels like everyone should serve their country when they're 18. Not always mandatory military service, but mandatory national service, something that serves the country. You leave from wherever you grew up, you go to an opposite side of the country, you learn how to handle opposing points of view, how to deal with conflict, how to understand other people's points of view. So again, the military is just something it's the absolute best decision I made, and I do feel like everyone should serve in some capacity.
Yeah, and thank you for your service. So what did the Marine Corps teach you in terms of lessons about mental and physical toughness that helps you in your role today?
Yeah, you think about mental toughness, and it's funny because when I graduated boot camp, I never forget this, my drill instructor, he sat us down, and for the first time, he talked to us like we were humans, because for the prior 3 months, we were getting kind of drugged through the mud. And I can remember him sitting us down the day we graduated, taking his cover off and saying, "Don't think when you're leaving here today that you're disciplined. What you've done for the last 3 months was not discipline. What you've done is obey orders. Anyone can obey orders. It's easy to do when somebody's making you do it. Discipline is when you do the right thing when nobody's telling you to do it." And that stuck with me. And that ultimately is what mental toughness boils down to. It's just remaining in control of emotion. And most people, when they feel any form of discomfort, they don't really know how to handle that. And it's not just the physical discomfort. There's a mental discomfort as well. So mental toughness, really in 2 words, it's just emotional control. It's something I feel like I was born with the ability to kind of understand it. And then the Marine Corps just helped to emphasize it.
And so let's talk a little bit about this photo that you sent to us about you. What was your role in the Marine Corps, and how long did you serve?
Yeah, I did 4 years. I got out as a corporal, and that's actually a picture. I was stationed in California, and I was standing duty. It's just funny to look at that picture. I mean, I'm like 8 years old in that picture, right? It's so amazing. But yeah, I mean, just the pride when I see that, I can just remember vividly the pride that I had just wearing that uniform. And again, the cool thing about the Marine Corps is I'm a Marine 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to the day I die. And even though people might not know that when they see me, it's something that I just, you can't take that out. It's in your blood. It's everything you do. It's just that sense of pride. So when I see that picture, first off, I see a little baby. And then secondly, I see a ton of pride. And it's just something that, you know, I always laugh about it. My boots are spit shined. You know, I had my uniform all pressed and I had my duty belt on. Just a cool memory.
And just to know those old habits, they don't die, because he even showed up to our studio early, so punctual, just like a Marine would. So tell us about what led you to becoming an author and a public speaker as well.
The public speaking piece of it, Liberty, is kind of funny because what really started me there was an absolute fear of getting in front of people. And I was like, you know, how can this be that this is so, I'm so afraid of it. And as humans, we're very afraid of getting in front of people. That's a whole other topic, but it really boils down to approval addiction. So for me, I just took something I was very fearful of and continued to put myself in that situation. With my mental toughness, we call that systematic desensitization, by the way. So you continue to put yourselves in situations where you're uncomfortable. And then fortunately, I developed the ability, I just kind of overcame all that fear and then got to the point where I really started to enjoy the public speaking. And it's something that I love right now to this day. In terms of writing the book, it was just ability for me to hopefully convey a message to other people, especially my first book, and how to connect with others and how to form deep, meaningful relationships, which really is the secret to happiness that I found. It's not just living for a long time. It's the depth of the relationships that you have. That book, I hope, has helped people to really understand other people, how to feel, how to express emotion, and most importantly, just how to connect with people, even total strangers we might just be meeting for the first time.
Yeah, very great tips on that. And we will speak more with Eric about his book, The Emotional Marine, when we come back. All right, we're back, and thank you for joining us on Service Strong. I'm here with U.S. Marine veteran and LifeMed Institute's Eric Rittmeyer. Eric, we're going to go into your book because you are an author of many books, and one of them is The Emotional Marine. So tell us a little bit about what generated this idea for this book and what is emotional intelligence.
Yeah, so it's funny when I wrote that book, you know, I wrote about this in my opening, but I talk about how as a child, as I was growing up, like I never really understood what it was that I was born with. And I feel like everybody's born with something. It might be athletic ability, it might be good looks, it might be whatever it is, you know, you might be artistic. And for me, like I didn't know what it was. Like I was good at everything, but nothing that I would ever say was like a full-blown gift. And it took me until about halfway through the Marine Corps to where I realized that my gift was people. It was my ability to connect. I could diffuse hostile situations. I could understand an opposing point of view. I could really empathize with people. So it was kind of weird for me initially to be like, okay, this is weird. Like I'm going to write a book about how to connect with other people and how to be likable. But it was something I felt like I was born with. So when I started writing the book, I was like, okay, you know, mental toughness tips on how to be more likable. Initially, I was like, this is kind of weird. Like, who am I to talk about being likable, right? People are going to be like, he's not a likable guy at all. But for me, it's just, I really put a lot of effort into these little things that I took for granted, honestly, that I just realized that helped me to be better at understanding others, you know, dealing with people who were hurting, understanding where they were coming from, and really being able to separate my views from the situation to be able to understand where someone's coming from. That's where the book originated from. And again, from there, it just led into lots of speaking engagements, lots of TV shows, and we're here now.
How does emotional intelligence help you? Intelligence help you in the Marine Corps or in life in general?
It is one of the most underrated skills, and we really provide no training whatsoever on this topic. And emotional intelligence, at the very core of it, it's self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, social skill. It's really the ability to identify emotions in real time. So when you're in these situations, you can get a feel for where someone else is coming from, and really it's the ability to just understand where people are coming from, listening with the intent to understand, not listening with the intent to reply. Most people in conversation, when they're talking, they're only listening long enough to formulate their response. Once they have that response, everything else becomes Charlie Brown talk. Emotional intelligence is, okay, I'm going to be aware of my emotions in real time. I'm going to listen to what you're saying. I'm going to attempt to understand where you're coming from and then to regulate that feeling. Because ultimately, as emotional creatures, we're hardwired to feel first and think later. We can't prevent that feeling. That's where a lot of people go wrong. Instead of trying to ignore it, suppress it, or turn it off, which is all impossible to do, it's understanding the emotion, recognizing it, then learning to control it, which is really difficult to do.
And you titled your book Emotional Marine. When you think of Marines, you don't think of emotions. I'm married to an active duty infantry officer, and talking about emotions don't come naturally to Marines. So did you also write this for Marines who are in those tough jobs to kind of explore a different side of themselves?
Not just Marines, it's any human, right? So that was kind of, the intent with the title of the book was to kind of have this little play on words, like exactly like you said. When you think of Marine, you don't think of emotional intelligence. So for me, it was that little play on words. But regardless of your line of work, regardless of your age, your gender, whatever belief you have, at the very core of all of that is an emotional person who has probably been taught and probably been raised that it's not okay to express that feeling. And I talk about this all the time. 100% of your feelings are okay. If you want to yell at me, if you want to scream at me, if you want to physically harm me, these are all emotions that are okay. The difference is how you respond to them. And this is really about teaching people how to respond logically as opposed to reacting emotionally, because the initial knee-jerk reaction when we get put in these situations, it's an emotional-based reaction. When we respond emotionally, we do bad things 99% of the time that we regret at the end of the day.
So what is a practical tip or tool that we can learn from you right now in terms of being able to tap into that emotional intelligence to help us in our everyday life and the mental toughness piece?
It is understanding that that emotion that you're feeling is okay and natural. It's learning to be in a situation and know that when emotion goes up, logic goes down. They're inversely related. So as one goes up, the other goes down. I talk about becoming so overcome an emotion that you can't think logically. When that happens, I refer to that as emotional intoxication. You're drunk in emotion. Your ability to process information logically is out the window. Nothing matters about any fact, any statistic. All that matters is that feeling that you have in your heart. If you're unable to separate the two, if you don't recognize when you have an elevated state of emotional mindset, you're going to make bad decisions every single time. This country right now is insanely intoxicated in emotion. We are incapable of hearing opposing point of view. It doesn't matter what I see with my eyes. It only matters what I feel with my heart. And that is a really, really dangerous place to be.
Yeah, and Marines are all about discipline, so it's kind of a way to discipline your mind to not react on every emotion that comes, because you can experience all different kinds of emotions 10 times in 1 minute. So talk to us. Was it generated of some maybe very high, intense emotional experience that you had to navigate through?
It really wasn't. I mean, I've had those experiences. Obviously, like all of us, we all have trauma. We all have things that have happened. For me, it wasn't anything particularly that did that. It just kind of came back to my ability to just naturally deal with these situations. And again, when I was younger, and there's some downsides to it because I'm a very emotional person. I love deep. I hurt deep. And I've written papers on this too about how when we handle trauma, everybody handles it differently. It's called the dandelion versus the orchid is one of the concepts. And some of us are dandelions, some of us are orchids. Dandelions are very resilient. You think about dandelion, the weather, the lack of water, whatever, compared to an orchid, which is very, very sensitive. Understanding which one we are gives us the ability to process trauma or even things that we're very happy with.
And I'm sure when people read The Emotional Marine, they'll be able to decipher which side they're more leaning towards, the dandelion or the orchid. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And coming up, we will talk with Eric about his other book, The Menopausal Marine, when we come back. All right, welcome back to Service Strong. I'm your host, Liberty Simmons, and I'm here with our special guest, U.S. Marine veteran and mental toughness coach, Eric Rittmeyer. And Eric, you've written so many books by now. Now we're going to talk about this one, The Menopausal Marine. That is such an interesting title. So tell us a little bit about what gave you the idea to write this. And I know you are very passionate about women's health.
I sure am. You know, it's funny. The first book, The Emotional Marine, the second book, The Menopausal Marine, obviously play on words. But for me, with my role at LifeMed, I just recognized very quickly in meeting so many women that the medical system is just grossly ill-equipped at helping women going through that stage of life. Menopause is something every woman experiences. It's really the only universal female medical experience. For something that we know so much about, for something that happens to every single woman, it was amazing to me that there was not more information readily available. And the women I was meeting, they were struggling, they were hurting, they were coming to me with all the symptoms: hot flashes, night sweats, brain fog, insomnia, hair thinning, weight gain, sexual vitality. So when I started the research on my own to educate myself, I learned very quickly that it was very difficult to find any fact-based information. My frustration level went through the roof, and I'm a guy who doesn't have ovaries, who will never go through menopause. So that led to my just obsession with the topic. I spent about 3 years researching it and decided to write a book about it, just educating women on fact-based information to demand answers to questions that every woman deserves.
So what I'm also noticing about you is this call to service from you, that you saw a problem with the women who were coming to you, and you decided to research to better serve them. So you talked about hormonal therapy, and what kind of health tips are you giving them?
Yeah, so it's important to note that obviously I'm not a medical person, so everything that I do is educate. Within our clinic, we do have a cardiologist, we have nurse practitioners, physician assistants. So my whole objective is education, and in the Marine Corps, we'd say junk in, junk out. So if we're on the battlefield and we get bad information, we make bad decisions. What I learned very quickly about menopause specifically is there's lots of misinformation, and misinformation leads to some really bad stuff for women. Emotions get involved. I'm not sure that there's a topic, aside from politics, I'm not sure that there's a topic that's more emotionally charged than hormone replacement therapies for women. All ladies are owed fact-based conversations about their health, about their wellness. And it's not just about menopause. This is about understanding women's health from their very first period to the last period and beyond, their whole lifespan. There needs to be a lot more information out there so women can understand these are things that I should be doing now. These are things I have to learn about. Resistance training, weight training, I'm so big on this stuff. We could obviously talk for hours about this, but anything relating to women, I love to talk about.
And so what will they learn when they read The Menopausal Marine?
It is fact-based information, is arming them with answers to questions that most likely they've never been answered. Most women go to their doctors, they're given, stop eating chocolate chip cookies, don't drink wine, take anxiety medication. And I say nothing negatively about doctors, they're amazing, but doctors are trained to treat, they're not trained to prevent, they're very reactive. With menopause, there's nothing that's broken. It's a hormone imbalance, it's loss of ovarian function, and it just so happens when a woman loses hormones, lots of really bad things happen to a woman's body. It's symptoms. There's also long-term health issues, the increased risk for cardiovascular disease, for bone disease, for neurodegenerative disease. These are all things that women are owed. They're owed conversations that do not involve emotions. Once a woman's educated, then she's able to make decisions in combination with a provider, with a spouse, with her friends. But if you don't have good information, you can't make good decisions.
And so what are you doing at LifeMed Institute now? It seems like you are helping a lot of women through your work there.
Yes, and love helping the guys too. For guys, it's a lot different though. For me, with the women, it's all about education. I do a ton of speaking events. I host a lot of women's events, do them in the evening normally. I have cheese, I have wine, and I spend about an hour to an hour and a half just helping women to navigate all the things that they're dealing with, or maybe to proactively prepare them for it. And it's not just about menopause. This is about health in general. It's not just living longer, it's living better for longer. It's lifespan versus health span. And the big thing is we have to know what's happening internally. I always say what gets measured gets managed. So if we measure it, we manage it. If we don't measure it, we have no idea what to manage. As it relates to our health for men and for women, there are so many things that we should be doing when we're younger to hopefully minimize the risk of long-term bad stuff happening.
And if a viewer or a listener is going through this rough period in their life, a new transition, what would be your biggest tips or advice to them?
Yeah, the number one tip is to educate yourself, to do research. We live in this day and age right now where anything we want to learn about it's right at our fingertips. I'm an old head, right? When I grew up, we had encyclopedias. So it'd be difficult to learn about this stuff with Encyclopedia Britannica. Now with Google, with the internet, with YouTube, with social media, these are all things that make it very, very easy for us to learn about any topic. Now, what's very important is to make certain that you are getting information from a credible source. Obviously, in social media world, anybody can turn on a camera and talk about stuff. But if you educate yourself deeply, if you go to lots of different sources, then you're able to make decisions in combination with your doctor. None of us should ever allow our doctors to make 100% of our medical decisions for us. There should be some input from us. 2%, 5%, 10%. We should never go blindly into any situation without fully understanding what it is that we're going to potentially be starting.
And lastly, what drives you? Because you are very passionate about these causes: emotional intelligence, mental toughness, women's health. What drives you to serve?
What drives me is helping people feel good and helping people be happy. The older I get, the more I recognize this. It is all about deep, meaningful relationships. And every person that I meet, every woman that I meet, every man that I meet, it's helping them to understand that, hey, there are things that you need to be taken care of, because wellness is not just physical. There's physical, emotional, spiritual, social, intellectual. There's all these components to it. So if there's a deficit in any one of those, it's not going to lead to a long life and or a happy life.
Yeah, absolutely. All of those things need to be in balance. But thank you so much for joining us, Eric, on Service Strong. And tune in next week where we will bring you more men and women who demonstrate what it truly means to be service strong. See you next time.